The bad feelings over developing the Badlands golf course have reached the boiling point. In addition to the millions of dollars taxpayers are spending in a drawn-out legal fight, our elected officials are accusing each other of doublespeak and dirty dealings. Hello, and thanks for joining us tonight for 13 Action News live at 6 o'clock. I'm Trisha Keene.
And I'm Ty Quinones. With 13 Chief Investigator Darcy Spears has led the way in exposing the heated battle. And Darcy now gets an exclusive inside look at how it's playing out.
The taxpayer dollars are on the line here.
The weight of Ward 2 is heavy for City Councilwoman Victoria Seaman.
This is not a Ward 2 problem. This is a city problem.
A city whose leaders continue fighting what's frequently been a losing battle over building luxury homes on the defunct Badlands golf course on Alta and Rampart.
Nobody's winning in this. The taxpayers aren't winning. The developer's not winning. He is paying taxes on his land.
Developer Johan Lowy is paying more than $1 million a year in property taxes for land he can't use. Land a judge ruled the city essentially seized by blocking development plans. The city council has voted to appeal.
It's a crapshoot. It's in the courts.
If the ruling is upheld, Councilwoman Seaman says it could have a devastating impact.
Hundreds of millions of dollars, and I don't think people understand that.
She wants to settle. In her mind, that's the only way to stop the bleeding of taxpayer dollars. Former Ward 2 Councilman Bob Beers was ready to wave the white flag years ago.
It wasn't until after I left that they started farming all the work out to outside firms, which is a sign that the city's pretty sure they're going to lose the case.
Beers says the city's decision to fight the residential zoning of Badlands was a bad one, with no basis in law. A battle backed by a handful of wealthy Queens Ridge homeowners who didn't want development on the shuttered golf course behind their homes.
Politics can be driven by money, and in this case, it very much was.
A spreadsheet provided by the city shows taxpayers have spent more than $4 million in legal fees so far. Seaman says that's an understatement.
Could be upwards to $10 million.
What's the justification for that?
There is none. We need to sit down with the developer and we need to settle this.
But things have grown so complicated, she finds herself caught in contradictions. In the October 6th City Council meeting, Seaman voted to keep the legal fight alive.
I've been told the city has reached out to the developer, and the developer has expressed no interest in settling this matter out of court.
After that, she called Lowy herself to see if he was willing to discuss a settlement.
And I was very encouraged that he was.
Did someone give you bad information from the city manager's office?
I'm just not sure if the right information was something that was presented to me at the time.
Seaman has been at odds with fellow council members since she took office 2 years ago. 13 Investigates has been reporting on this even longer.
It is so hard to believe what's happening here.
That was Johan Lowy in 2018. There were questions of fairness after City Councilman Bob Coffin called the developer scum and a crazy Israeli in profanity-laced email and text messages. Lowy and his lawyers claimed then council members Coffin and Steve Soroka were throwing up roadblocks, acting on behalf of the wealthiest and most powerful people in Queens Ridge.
Over my dead body will I allow a project that will set a precedent, that will ripple across the community, that those property values do not just be impacted in Queens Ridge, but throughout the community. I ask you to find that moral courage to stand up.
Soroka got tangled up in a moral issue of his own, a sexual harassment scandal involving one of his aides. He resigned in March of 2019. Enter Victoria Seaman via special election. She came out of the gate trying to put Badlands to bed.
We need the votes in order to negotiate a settlement. And unfortunately, we have to bring everybody to the table, and those council members are going to be accountable to the taxpayers.
Those council members are Stavros Anthony and Cedric Creer. Both cited pending litigation and declined to talk about why they keep the Badlands battle alive. Voting records obtained by 13 Investigates show both have voted to deny every one of Lowy's land use applications, despite consistent recommendations for approval from the Planning Commission and city staff.
I do think it was political. I do think that there's been bad blood between the developer and former council members, and I think it's time that we do our job.
In the case of Councilman Creer, there's been a question as to which job takes priority. Creer is a former marketing director for Station Casinos. He currently lists them as a client for his personal marketing business. Station CEO Frank Fertitta has a home backing up to Badlands and has been a staunch opponent of any new development there. In September 2004, campaign finance reports revealed almost half the contributions to Creer's state Senate campaign came from Station Casinos, its affiliates, and its executives. Creer told the Las Vegas Sun, "The Fertittas have been my friends for over 30 years. They wanted to support my campaign, and I love them for it."
Have any of the council members said, hey, Cedric, maybe you shouldn't be voting on this. You need to disclose that?
I haven't had any of those conversations with Councilman Creer.
It was raised to the city attorney, but there has been no action. We tried to ask Councilman Creer about the possible conflict of interest, but he wouldn't talk, again citing the pending litigation. So we took the facts to Dr. Abigail Aguilar, who teaches professional ethics at UNLV. In a statement, she wrote, "This is a case of conflict of interest that is so obvious, my undergraduate students would think I was kidding were I to use it as an example in class of an actual case. A politician who engages in such behavior, not disclosing a very close connection to an interested party, let alone not recusing oneself from any voting on it, should not be in any public office. It calls into question all other votes a politician like this has taken, as well as all other actions, such as fundraising, and is a violation of public trust that is essential for government to function well."
What responsibility do you believe other elected officials have and when it comes to pointing out a conflict of interest?
Well, the thing that's my responsibility, and I've done it over and over again, is I have urged the council members in our briefings, in meetings we've had over Badlands, that they need to think about the consequences if we don't try to settle this. And I have done it over and over again. And it falls on deaf ears.
Seaman says she's enlisted help from the city manager and city attorney to try to bring everyone together.
You said you thought it was politically motivated from the get-go. Do you feel like that's still going on?
Those are questions you'd have to ask the other council members.
But you obviously don't seem to understand why they're voting against it and haven't participated in settlement discussions. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say.
Since the other council members won't say,
I do believe that we need to help them to understand that it's time to come together and get a resolution, because everybody's losing.
Well, except the lawyers.
True.
Darcy Spears, 13 Investigates.